Alright, yeah, I watched the new Terminator movie, right? Yeah, I can't really do no more fucking, I can't actually, I'm too afraid to decode anything anymore now, because I just got a fucking copyright strike on Batman Begins, man, kind of fucking sucks. I mean, it sucks that they don't give you some kind of fucking warning, dude. They should give you a warning like, hey, please take down the video and we won't take no action, but if you want to play hard, but they don't give you no warning. They just give you a fucking strike out of nowhere. I think that's kind of bogus. And there should be a YouTube hotline number where you can actually call a consultant or something, dude, because it's bogus the way they try to shut you down out here, dude. But besides all that, well, then again, it was kind of a harsh review. I give movies a very harsh critical review if you've watched any of my breakdowns. So forgive me, man. I've learned a lot of symbolism and code. So I mean, I can see a deeper layers in a lot of movies that other people miss. But now back to this new Terminator. Something I thought was very strange. They kept mentioning 1984. And if you look into the Montauk Project, I think they say 84 was one of the years where there's it sounded like they copied some of the stuff. They called it a nexus point. It's where timelines changed. And the Montauk Traveler guys said they said stuff like this, and I think they kept saying 84. Maybe it was 87, but it was kind of strange. They kept saying that in the movie, and the thing about it too is that basically Skynet, they're saying Genesis is Google. You know what I'm saying? And it basically says it connects all of your phone to your TV to your social media app. Basically, it's a technocracy. Anyway, even if Skynet didn't blow everything up as the movie shows, it does mean Orwell 1984. Everything is tracked and monitored, and you can also throw yeah that's I mean yeah, vaporization. Terminators vaporize humans. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of a correct interpretation or breakdown. So, uh, yeah, I was tripping about that. Let me think what else. It's also they kind of flipped it into ravenous feminism with John Connor's mom. I mean, she was just fucking a Wolverine, Weasel, Badger chick. Literally, this chick was like a fucking badger in the movie, just like, just ready to claw your eyes out. And I thought that was kind of weird. It makes sense, people in war, what do? They cut off people's ears and hang them around their necks. So, I mean, that does make sense. If you put the woman into that psychological mindset, will they turn into a ravenous badger, raccoon, with rabies, bite your dang nipples off type of chick, basically in that movie. That's what I caught from it. It was like, and look, I listened to it like 3 times as I was like laying around. So I mean, I tried to absorb as much of it that was useful as I could, and that's another little tidbit in it, you know. But it was real crazy, how they did flip it and bounce it pretty. It was pretty good how they flipped and bounced it, and kind of they renewed it because eventually they were gonna have to end it. But the way that they just flipped it around now, it's almost like they can re-begin the saga again, kind of like they do with Star Wars. It's kind of like when you take cocaine and you cut it with substances, and each time it comes back less pure, but you get to sell it again and again and again. They do this with movies, and they recycle it. So when you got a time travel possibility scenario, I guess you really could go on forever. I mean, there's infinite possibilities with that, which is a good technique to keep a franchise series going. Uh, yeah, it was pretty crazy because they did, they mentioned shapeshifter in it. And before they didn't call the metal Terminator a shapeshifter, so that's just with reptilianoid shapeshifters and alien hybrids nowadays, it's getting more popularized, through the conspiracy genre. Because I mean, there's some very valid, legit points to some of these arguments, even though people only take a certain piece of it and then they kind of ignore another piece. You know, like people don't want to make the connection between the fallen angels, the Watchers, the Anunnaki. You know what I'm saying? They for some reason, some people only want to go Anunnaki and they don't want to just, or the Greek gods and all that, and they don't want to kind of uh, realize that they're all the same thing. All these pantheons are the same creatures, entities, just different ethnic groups, different names. You know what I'm saying? And in a way, you could also say that these Terminators, in a way, you could think, and they kept showing these rings and rings, time machine, gate looking things. You know, you maybe that's a reference to kind of a CERN ish type of I mean, they kind of threw it in there. They say that it's possible that this thing is given views into multiple dimensions or multiple time uh, parallel, I mean, I guess possibilities. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not one of them, you know, on the inside that really knows the truth about what they think they're doing. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's definitely relevant to all that stuff. To uh, I mean, just does you could think, you know, it is the things coming out of the pit, and it was kind of weird how the what was it, the machine, I forgot what its name was, but it had a name. I think it might have been just Genesis, and it was like a real, it was AI. It was basically, that's also your Jade 2.0 or whatever as well. And they talked about algorithms. They kept saying computer algorithms and shit. And we all know from Facebook, if you Facebooked a lot, you realize the algorithm really gunked up information flow. Like, it really segregates you and cuts you off from people. I mean, it's still, you're still out there, but they've done a good job at, if you have certain topics, it's like somehow it pushes it out of the feed. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of maybe referenced in there. There was just a lot of weird, corny references. Like, they really borrow from the conspiracy internet genre, where we all fucking bounce ideas around about crazy shizzle. And they kept saying theoretically, like the Terminator kept saying theoretically. So it's kind of like, you know, now I hear that word a lot because, and they said the quantum time fabric, or the quantum field, and that's something to do with quantum computing. And it takes a quantum computer, I think, to analyze what's going on with the CERN situation. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's kind of, it's in there. If you know the science stuff that's going on now, how do I know about quantum fields, quantum mechanics, quantum computing? Well, it's because I listen to other theoretical physicist guys, and they dabble in these topics, and they, you know, it's like, you'd really have to study into that to get a deep understanding of it. But I mean, if you just keep your feelers out and observe the right stuff that's going on, you can be kind of, you can get you'll build up a rapport with that subject, you know what I'm saying, over time, and a better understanding. And some subjects are correlated with other subjects, you know what I'm saying? So uh, it was kind of weird too. It's like you see those spirals in the sky, and it the when they transported the Kyle Reese dude into time and the chick together, they kind of were in this plasma ball, you know what I'm saying? And it kind of resembled one of those star spirals, you know, and you know, the spiral is a sign for a gate, but they did actually have time gates and time machines in this movie. So I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's weird. In real life, you can look into the Philadelphia experiment, where they phased out into a different dimension. That's real life stuff, like Terminator. You know what I'm saying? You look into DARPA machines. Just Google DARPA machines or YouTube it, and they got all these videos where they actually broadcast the stuff they're working on. You look at drones. We got Terminators already. And you got Jade AI, that is a Skynet-like, and Google is also Skynet-like. And Genesis may be a reference to Google itself, and it says it's about interconnected. It's, and then 1984, you can look into Orwell. And basically, and then the Montauk Project, and that leads into Montauk, basically, or they had a small hadron collider before that was kind of low key and kept like they've been hadron colliding for a while, but they just kept it under wraps. Now it's just been the public is becoming aware of it. So that stuff is out there, and supposedly that somehow is connected to time. You know what I'm saying? Like time travel potentially, or at least they can use a machine, kind of like that movie Paycheck with Ben Affleck, where he wiped his brain so he couldn't remember anything, but he left a bunch of clues for himself because he actually had access to a time machine that gives you a window and then tells you what's going to happen before it happens, basically. So, I mean, all these subjects are loosely connected, but then again, if you look at them all in a whole, you can see that Terminator is just an amalgamation of a bunch of real things that we do have right now. And it's just, I mean, I don't know, man. It's almost like life imitates art for real because it's like almost like they even call John Prophet or John Connor a prophet in the movie. In a way, the Terminator is a very prophetic, uh, like franchise or series or whatever you want to call it, dude. So I just thought all this stuff is pretty wild, man. That I mean, it sucks. It's almost like all this conspiracy stuff that bothers you in the back of your mind. When you watch these movies, it doesn't make you feel any better. It only reinforces what you already know to be potentials. You know what I mean?